everyone, welcome. I have for you today 4 fabulous Christmas ornaments. Welcome back to my current subscribers and to everyone visiting my channel today. I hope you feel inspired to make these Christmas ornaments. Please let me know in the comment space below which one of these was your favorite. Let me show you how I made these 4 Christmas ornaments. Let's get busy. Okay, I have here a wood ornament, unfinished, from Crafter's Square at the Dollar Tree. I'm going to be transforming this very plain wood cutout sled into something very beautiful. I'm going to be using Waverly Crimson chalk paint to paint a good portion of that sled, and I'm also going to place a piece of scrapbook paper on the top of the sled. And that scrapbook paper, I got it in the scrapbook paper department at Hobby Lobby. I have a couple of different ribbons there because I'm going to be making a very pretty little bow to put on the top of that sled. That ribbon there looks like it was from Walmart. It's a beautiful red and white stripe. The other one with the little Christmas trees, that was from the Christmas department at Hobby Lobby. I have here 3 different types of Christmas greenery, 3 very small pine cones, and a few red berries. I have some craft wire there that I got at Dollar Tree, and my regular utensils, my scissors, hot glue gun, and you'll need some Mod Podge. That's what I have in that container there. I'm showing you here some snow from the Dollar Tree. I ended up not using that, but I do love their faux snow. Okay, first things first, I'm going to paint a majority of this sled with that Waverly Crimson chalk paint. I'm going to be painting the top and the bottom, the underside of the sled. The only thing I'm not going to paint is that piece right on top by my hand there. Actually going to be covering that piece of the sled with that scrapbook paper. This is a beautiful red for Christmas and a beautiful color for this sled. I'm going to go ahead and make a very pretty little bow. It's going to go on the top of the sled. I'm going to create a 4-loop bow. I want to say those loops are about 5.5 inches, 6 inches. And I'm going to be creating 2 loops on each side, or 4 loops altogether, in my usual fold over and scrunch method. If you'd like to see how I make my bows, I will put a couple of my bow tutorials in the description box. And this is going to be the base of my bow. I'm just going to take a little pipe cleaner and wrap that very firmly and tightly around those loops to hold those secure. And then I'm going to be creating another bow that's going to sit right on top of that base bow. And that is going to be this ribbon that I mentioned that I got at Hobby Lobby. This is really a pretty ribbon. It actually has little sparkly red, I guess it's ornaments on the tree on this ribbon, but it's very pretty when you see it up close. Now, this ribbon is a little bit more narrow than the red and white stripe. You can mix your ribbons however you like when you create bows. For this particular one, I'm going to do 3 loops on each side, being that this is a little bit more of a narrow ribbon, and I want to say those loops are a little bit less, I want to say maybe 5 inches. And I'm going to, again, 3 loops on each side. I'm going to put a pipe cleaner right down the center, twist it in the back to hold all those loops secure. Then I'm just going to create one single loop to place right down the center of that bow. And this is the top tier of my bow, and I'm going to be combining those 2 bows together. And this is a really pretty bow with the reds and the greens and the white. I just feed the tail of my ribbon right on my center bow. Again, watch my tutorials. There's so much versatility in creating bows like this. So we're going to snip off the excess pipe cleaners because I want that bow to sit very flush on top of the base bow, which is that red and white striped ribbon. I'm going to place those 2 together, matching up the centers of those 2 bows and making sure the tails are on one side. Again, snipping off the excess. And this is going to make a really pretty little bow for this sled in the traditional Christmas colors. I'm going to use just a piece of wire to secure those 2 bows together. And I just feed that right to the center loop of my bow, and then I twist it in the back. And I'm going to be angling my tails. You can dovetail if you like. And look how pretty that bow is. Now, of course, I could be trimming that up even more once it's on the piece, but for right now, I just wanted to trim up the tails just a little bit. And now I have my bow for my sled all finished. Very pretty. So here I have my sled all painted up. Now I'm just going to lay that upside down on the wrong side of that scrapbook paper, and I'm going to trace around that piece on the top that I want to cover with that scrapbook paper. I just use a pencil and just lightly mark the lines of the top of that sled. And I cut that out with my scissors, of course. And now I'm going to take my Mod Podge, just squirt a little bit of that Mod Podge on there and spread a nice even coat all over, all the way out to the edges. And this is a very sturdy scrapbook paper. You're not going to have any issues with bubbling or rippling or anything like that. All you have to do is put a nice even coat on there, press it down all the way out to the edges, and that's it. If you want, when I do tend to any kind of scrapbook paper that I use Mod Podge, sometimes I use a piece of balled up saran wrap rather than my fingers, but honestly, this will do. This is a very sturdy scrapbook paper, and when you're using a thicker scrapbook paper, you're just not going to have those rippling issues. All right, now down the front of that sled, or the top of that sled, there was 2 ridges that went down that piece, and I want to be sure to define those. So I'm taking a spatula, the one I got at Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to run my spatula up and down the crevices. Can you see there? Just gives the piece a little more definition, and I like that. Now I was putting here a little bit of Mod Podge on my finger, hoping that I could keep this twisted twine from untwisting, if you will. This is one of those cords. It's actually a very pretty one. It's red, green, and white. Beautiful Christmas colors. But I'm going to have to feed the cord, which is going to serve as the hanger. But on any sled, there's also a rope on the front, so it's simulating that as well. But I'm going to have to feed the ends of that cord through those two little holes in the front of the sled, and I don't want it to start untwisting when I'm trying to do so. So I thought I'd put some Mod Podge on there and just let that dry, and hopefully that will be enough. If not, I'll just use a little piece of painter's tape. All right, now I have 3 different types of Christmas greenery. This is going to be a very traditional type of ornament. This will be suitable on any type of tree, but especially just a real traditional one with all types of ornaments and lots of red and green. Now I'm going to take just 2 of these evergreen, if I can speak, evergreen pieces. I'm just going to trim them up a little bit. They were a little bit too full. And I'm going to place that right at the top of that, top of the sled where I Mod Podged on that paper. And I want my evergreen pieces to stick out just a little bit and have a little bit of a downward configuration there. Just going to use hot glue. That will do just fine. And I have a little piece of greenery that I had gotten at Dollar Tree. It comes in a package. And I'm going to cut off a few sprigs of that and place that on top of that other greenery. I believe I put a couple of pieces on each side. And see how I place it? I'm creating a kind of little mini swag across the top of that piece on the sled. And then I have another type of greenery, and I'm just going to add that on top. And there we have our 3 types of greenery. Now I'm going to take that beautiful bow that I made with the tails facing downward, and I'm going to put some glue, hot glue, on the center of the back of the bow, place it right down over the top of that greenery. I want to press that bow down and get a nice and firm adherence of that bow right on top of that greenery. So I'm just pressing my scissors right through the center there, holding it down nice and tight while that glue takes hold. Now, still left on the table there, I have 3 little tiny pine cones. I had gotten these in an assorted sizes of pine cones in a bag. I believe I had got those during the period of time where I was purchasing a lot of autumn decor, but I think they also have it in the Christmas decor department if you need little tiny pine cones. So I'm going to put 1 little pine cone right beneath the center loop on that bow, and I'm going to point it downward toward the bottom of the sled. It's going to hot glue that on, and this very plain sled is taking on quite a different look. It's so pretty. Now I'm going to take the other 2 pine cones. Actually, I think I'm just going to use 1 more, and I'm going to put it right over the top of the bow. And there we go. That's where I put it. And then also you're going to take some of those little berries and just one by one pop those in the greenery. I believe I put 3 on each side. Look how pretty this is. It'll be such a beautiful ornament on a Christmas tree. And yes, it's a little bit bigger size, but I think a little bit bigger ornaments can be so beautiful on a Christmas tree. So you see me there feeding that braided cord through the hole. And then after I did this, I decided that I wanted to do it a little bit different. So I ended up cutting a little bit longer piece and feeding the cord through the hole toward the inside of the sled. And I ended up tying a knot in each end of the cord. So I needed a little bit more length. That's why I cut a new cord. If you have trouble with that cord coming apart when you try and feed it through there, just wrap a little piece of painter's tape on there. So I just tied a knot, as you can see there, and I just put a little hot glue. And now I have a hanger for my sled. And there you have it. That's a pretty one. Okay, now you know all of those little tubes that hold all of your Dollar Tree deco mesh? Well, guess what? I saved those. And I always think one day I am going to use this for something. And in my previous videos, you saw me wrapping candies that I got off of picks for my gingerbread decor. And I thought to myself, you could use those rolls that hold the deco mesh from Dollar Tree and create your own candies with that by using glitter and putting them in the sleeve. If you saw my other videos, you know where I'm going with this. These are 5x7 treat bags that you can get at Hobby Lobby in the department where they sell all the cake decorating supplies. Now, you could leave, if you wanted to do long candies, say you had a really big tree and you wanted to do longer candies, you don't have to use the bags. You could just buy a roll of that cellophane that you use to wrap gift baskets. I know they have this at Hobby Lobby, and you could just cut sheets of it. But I'm going to be making a little bit smaller one, so I'm going to be using a 5x7 bag. I have an X-Acto knife there, which is how I'm going to cut off the excess off of the roll. And I also have there 2 little wood rounds. I'm going to be using some painter's tape. Those wood rounds are 5/8 inch. I keep a lot of wood circles in my craft stash. Oops, sorry. And they always come in handy, and that's proven right here with this ornament. I have some white glitter and some red glitter. You'll need a paintbrush and Snow White Waverly chalk paint and Crimson Waverly chalk paint. Now, I measured out about the length I thought that I wanted my candy that I'm going to be creating and wrapping to create a Christmas ornament. You could do 6 or 8 or 10 of these and put them all over the tree. Oh, it would be so pretty. I'm going to create my first candy at 3.5 inches. Now, you see those wood rounds, 5/8 inch? They fit absolutely perfectly on the ends of that tube. The bags, again, are treat bags. They're 5 inches by 7 inches, and they come in a pack. In the bakery department at Hobby Lobby, you'll need some craft wire as well. And I mentioned the Snow White Waverly chalk paint and some Mod Podge. And these are the two glitters. Every other week, glitter is on sale. I want to say 40% off, possibly 50, but I think it's 40. And one of my favorite ribbons, and if you watch my other videos, you saw me wrap the candies with this ribbon. This is a beautiful glittery peppermint stripe ribbon. It can be found in the Christmas department in the ribbon section from Hobby Lobby. I put a piece of painter's tape around at the 3.5 inches. I came to the 3.5 inch measurement because I was figuring how I could fit it comfortably in that 5x7 bag. So I took my X-Acto knife and I very carefully cut out the 3.5 inches piece of tubing, or in actuality, it is the roll that came from the Dollar Tree Deco Mesh. I'm going to use some hot glue, pop the wood rounds on the end to close that up. And now we have the ends for our peppermint candy. And there you have it. Okay, next thing we're going to do is just paint the whole entire thing with Snow White Waverly chalk paint. Then after that's dry, I just take a piece of painter's tape and I wrap it around that piece to create, at a slant, the look of a peppermint candy. So I take my red crimson Waverly chalk paint, and I just paint between the painter's tape lines. And then the other lines in between are, of course, have been painted with the Waverly Snow White chalk paint. Now, I have a paintbrush, and I'm going to start with the red. And I dip my paintbrush in Mod Podge. And I'm just going to cover in small sections, going along the lines of the red stripe on that candy. And then I'm going to take my red glitter over a plastic container, and I'm just going to lightly tap my jar of glitter. And I'm doing this in small sections. Now, one thing I wanted to mention is those rolls that are from the Deco Mesh from Dollar Tree, they have some imperfections in them. And when you put this together, you're going to see the seam where the wood is glued on the end, and maybe a few little bumps or lumps in that cardboard tube. But don't worry about it, because this glitter is going to cover any blemish up, including the seams where you glued on the wood rounds. That's the beauty of this glitter. It covers up everything. And here we have it. Look how pretty. And this was something that you might have thought to just throw in the trash. I think these would look great in a longer size. Like I said, you could pick up that clear cellophane in like the gift wrap department or the party department at Hobby Lobby. Now I put that right in the center of that bag. Now you cut off the very end of the bag, and you're going to place it right in the center, and then you're going to squish each side. Try and get it symmetrical so that you have an equal amount of the ends on both sides sticking out there. I take a little piece of craft wire which I always purchase at Dollar Tree. And I'm going to secure the ends by just wrapping a piece of wire around there a couple times, because we're going to be tying ribbons on the ends and it wants to come unwrapped. So if you take that wire, and look how pretty, and you just wrap it a couple times, it makes that process of tying the bow around there a little bit easier. So now it's time to put a hanger on here. Before I tie both of my ribbons on, we need some kind of hanger. So I just took a little piece of red, very narrow ribbon, and I'm going to wrap it around one end, right close to the candy, right over the top where the wire is. And I'm just going to pinch that really, really tight, take a little dab of hot glue, and just secure that. And I'm going to close up the end of that hanger, that ribbon hanger, and I just overlap the ribbons, put a little dab of hot glue, just like that. You just overlap them, and you have a hanger. And that's how we're going to hang this ornament from the tree. But I wanted to get that on first because I'm going to be covering that ribbon up of that hanger with this beautiful peppermint striped ribbon that's going to close the ends of our piece of candy. I pull that really, really tight. Now I'm going to make a little bow. These little tiny bows are a little tricky and hard to work with, but so worth the time and effort to make them. Now, it always seems to happen that when you tie a bow like this ribbon has a right side and a wrong side. And one of the loops will be flipped to the wrong side. So I just flip it inside out, or turn it back inside. Right side out. That's what I meant to say. Good heavens. I knew I could get it out eventually. But I want to be sure that for both of my loops that I actually see the good side of the ribbon. So in plain words, when you tie your bow, if it turns out that one of the loops is flipped inside out, just turn it right side out. You can do that. And if it's giving you a hard time, just put a little dab of glue to hold it where you want it. Now I'm tying the bow on the other side, and I'm put that ribbon right over the top of that red ribbon that I created the hanger. You see how I did that? Just covered it right up, but my hanger is still there. I just have to secure the end. And I'm going to angle my tails. See, I'm flipping my loop over there. That happens to me almost virtually every time I make one of these. And I angle my tails, and I think these are just so cute. Again, I think they would be great left in full size if you have a big tree. And I'm just going to glue that hanger shut, and there you have it. Look how cute. And you probably were going to throw your Deco Mesh rules in the trash. Look what you can create for like pennies. This costs like pennies to make. Nothing like homemade ornaments covering a tree. Oh my gosh, I love this. Okay, on to ornament number 3. I'm going to be creating a dog paw ornament. Now, dogs always seem to be a part of a Christmas tree for those of us who have dogs. I have a beautiful Labradoodle. I'm going to be making one for her, but this particular one is for my grandson's dog, and she is a beagle. And this is going in my son's home, and he particularly loves buffalo check. And the tree has a lot of buffalo check accents. So that's why I chose this scrapbook paper. So I'm going to trace around this wood cutout of a dog paw. I got these on Amazon. I'll put the store where I got them in the description box. And I'm going to cut out 4 of these paws that I trace around. Now I am going to be gluing 2 of the paws together because I want the back of the ornament to also be buffalo check. This is a small buffalo check, but it's a buffalo check. So I'm just going to use a little tacky glue, go around the edges, and glue together my scrapbook paper. I'm going to do that for both of those. And now I'm going to take some tacky glue and just try and keep the glue to a minimum here. I actually got a little too much glue and some of it squished out. Thank goodness this glue dries clear though, so you don't have to really worry too much. But just be careful because it will squish out. And you're just going to place it right on top of the scrapbook paper. Now the back side is going to be finished. So that was the reason for doing the double layer of that scrapbook paper. Remember, you glue the wrong sides together. I'm going to do that for both of them. This ornament is so cute. So you could trim it up if you need to with scissors. Very easy to do. Now I'm going to be putting painting with a very fine tip paintbrush and Snow White Waverly chalk paint. I did it with a Sharpie marker, so I would be sure to get it right. And I put Rosie, because that's her name. She's a very adorable but very mischievous beagle. And I put a little heart because I love her so much. And I just hand painted that on the paw of the ornament. And now I'm going to glue those together. Now you can glue yours however you like. I wanted mine kind of staggered a little bit. This reminds me of my Labradoodle. She always stands with her paws like one just a little bit behind the other with her paws together. I have to make one for her. After my arm fracture, I haven't seen my Labradoodle, so I'm feeling a little sentimental because she's a bit wild. She's big. So I'm waiting for the healing so that I can see her. She's a little bit crazy with wanting to run after squirrels when she sees them when we're out for a walk. So I can't take too many chances right now, but enough about that. Just having a conversation about dogs here. But this is the other dog in my life, Rosie. Oh, she's adorable. So I'm going to take a buffalo check, if I can speak again. A little buffalo check ribbon, fold it over in a teardrop shape. Hot glue the bottom. And I'm just going to glue that right to the back of the ornament. Now I wanted to put a little bit of an embellishment on here just to give it a little pizzazz. So I have these little holly stick-on embellishments. I got these in the Christmas department at Hobby Lobby. And I'm going to place one right there between the paws. I think this is such a nice little touch on this ornament. Look how cute. And then I'm going to do one more right at the top at the base of the hanger. Now, if you want to, you could paint your wood paws. I just decided to leave mine just like they were. Really looks cute. And there's that package that those holly came in. And there you have it. That's ornament number 3. Now, last but not least, this is so simple. But I like to do projects. There's some staples in there that no way can I possibly get those out right now. I don't have quite the dexterity to do that or the strength. So I'm just going to leave them there in the back of there. But you might want to pull yours out. But I'm going to trace around this. I got these wood trees, I believe. I got these at Walmart. And they're a nice little heavy wood. And I'm just going to trace around with a pencil. And these 2 scrapbook papers came in a booklet of scrapbook papers from Hobby Lobby. Always 50% off in the Christmas department. This is a very simple ornament to make. But I think everybody starts at some point in time as a new crafter. And then I'm just offering a very easy piece for those who might just want to make a super simple, very quick ornament for their Christmas tree. You could also do this with your kids. So I'm going to use Mod Podge, cover the whole entire piece. I'm going to do 2 different patterns on this Christmas tree. One side is going to be these little white snowflakes. And I just press that down. No worries, this is a sturdy scrapbook paper. It's not going to bubble or ripple. All you have to do is put the Mod Podge down, press it down all the way out to the edges. And the other side is going to be red with little white polka dots. Now this is a very colorful, very simple, very cute little ornament. I'm going to take this little iridescent white ribbon. It's a very narrow ribbon. And I'm just going to create a little bow for the top of this Christmas tree. Just by overlapping or looping over the loops of that bow. There's 4 loops there. I'm going to take a little piece of wire. And again, super simple, but so cute. A nice little beginner project or just a project. If you want to make some quick, colorful, cute ornaments for your Christmas tree, wrap that wire right down the center. And I'm going to pull those tails down, angle them. Now, do you see there? I have a little tiny snowflake. I got that. It's got a little bit of a shimmer, glittery shimmer to it. I got those in a little package. Guess where? Hobby Lobby. My gosh, I must say that 100 times every video. I love Hobby Lobby. I guess you can ascertain that. I'm going to glue that bow right to the top. Then I'm going to take that little tiny snowflake and put it right in the center. Now, I didn't show it here, but I did end up turning that tree over and putting a snowflake on the other side. So this could be seen from both sides, or you could use it and hang it on the tree, whichever side you like, whenever you like. Now, I just have one more thing to do, and that's to create a hanger. And I just create that nice little teardrop shape that I so often make my hangers in. A little bit of dab of glue at the bottom. And I'm just going to glue that on. And look, a very simple ornament, but super cute. I love it. All these ornaments that we did today, they're all so fun. And I hope you love them. Leave me a comment. Let me know which one is your favorite. Look at that $1.25 sled. All of these ornaments are extremely inexpensive to make. If you like what you see on my channel, Please consider subscribing if you are not a subscriber already. Give this video a thumbs up if you like the content. And I hope you leave your comments. Let me know which one you like the best. Okay, until next time, you all take care.